Last year, our lives took a turn. As our education went online, many people started working from home, and we found ourselves on lockdown. Essentially, we found ourselves in our homes. And suddenly, we saw our homes differently. Maybe your home seemed cluttered. Maybe there was no peace. Maybe there was no balance. I'd like to suggest that many of us found that our homes were lacking in feng shui. What is feng shui? According to Angie Cho, feng shui expert and practicing architect, the philosophy of feng shui is the practice of organizing pieces of living space in order to create a balance with the natural world. In the Asian culture, this is called Taoism. Taoism is the way of nature, and all basic principles of feng shui are based off of nature. In other words, we can improve our inner well-being and success by the way we arrange our surroundings. So, if you want to improve your well-being, then you should look at learning the essential principles of feng shui, how to incorporate them, and the rules of feng shui that should never be broken. There are 3 essential principles of feng shui. The first is a commanding position. The commanding position is the point furthest from the door that is not in direct line with it. This position is where you'll spend most of your time. There are 3 parts to it. The bed, which represents you, the desk, which is an extension of your career, and the stove, which represents your overall wealth and nourishment. If the commanding positions isn't available, you can still achieve this by your posture. According to Mark Sager, in health psychology, he suggests that slumping makes you sad, and standing up straight lifts your mood. In a study done by Ohio State University, it also suggests that having correct posture increases your organization. The next essential principle of feng shui is Bagua. Bagua is the energy map of feng shui superimposed on the floor plan of your home. Bagua is Chinese for 8 areas. These 8 areas are related to life circumstances such as family, career, and helpful people. At the center of Bagua is the 9th area, you, representing your overall health and well-being. There are many ways that Bagua can be applied. Some people align knowledge, helpful people, and career with their front door. Others may align Bagua with the energy of that year. The final essential principle of feng shui are the 5 elements. These 5 elements are earth, water, fire, wood, and metal. These elements are 5 interrelated phases that work together to create a balance in your life. To incorporate feng shui, you need to choose one area of your life to work on at a time. Incorporate the suggested colors and shapes in that area. The intent is to bring positivity to that area of your life, room of your home, and essentially your whole life. Both psychology and feng shui suggest in using or imitating the natural world. You can do this by using plants in your home and having natural lighting. The next thing are the basic principles of feng shui, the rules of feng shui that should never be broken. The first one is to be tidy and organized. According to Darby E. Saxby from the University of California, she states that having physical clutter can cause stress and depression. Her study also suggests that having a tidy workspace causes more productivity at work. The next rule of feng shui that should never be broken is to keep the bed away from windows. The reason behind this is that your body and mind need support. Therefore, your bed should be placed against a solid wall. The next rule of feng shui that should never be broken is to separate rest and work areas. Many people work very demanding jobs, and if you place a desk in your room, you are destroying all tranquility in your life. The next rule of feng shui that should never be broken is to know your colors. For example, when thinking of the color red, passion comes to mind. When this color is in a room, it creates a bold and lively mood. Contrasting this with green creates a very calm and relaxing space, perfect for unwinding after a long day. The final rule of feng shui that should never be broken is to use the Bagua map properly. This is a very important rule. If the Bagua map is not used properly, you may be changing multiple areas of your life. This could be detrimental to a home and can cause disorganization and clutter. So now that you know the rules of feng shui that should never be broken and the essential principles of feng shui, you are ready to start incorporating feng shui into your home. Now, I hope I am never locked down again due to the pandemic. I also hope that I can enjoy some inner well-being and peace with the help of feng shui. In the words of Socrates, the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new.
Adventure dog, kinda big, kinda strong, stupid as a log. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Adventure Dog, able to shed on all types of furniture, finds even her own poo edible, arch nemesis of the evil mailman. Reality television really has gone too far. Adventure Dog by Dave Barry. I have this idea for a new television series. It'd be a realistic action show patterned after the trip events of my dog Ernest. The name of the show would be Adventure Dog. The theme song would go, Adventure Dog, kinda big, kinda strong, stupid as a log. Each episode would be about an exciting trip adventure that happened to her. For example, here's the script for an episode entitled Adventure Dog Wakes Up and Goes Outside. It is 6:17 a.m. Adventure Dog is sleeping in the hall. Suddenly, she hears a sound. Her head snaps up. Somebody is awake. Time to swing into action. Adventure Dog races down the hall, skidding on all four paws, turns into the bathroom, where to her total shock, she finds the master, whom she has not seen since last night. Yay! Art! Down, dang it! Now Adventure Dog bounces to the front door in case the master is going to take her outside. It is a slim chance. He has only taken her outside the past 2,637 consecutive mornings. But just in case, Adventure Dog is ready. Art! Can it be? Yes! This is unbelievable! The master is coming to the door! Looks like Adventure Dog is going outside. Yay! Down, dang it! Now the master's opened the door approximately 1 inch. Adventure Dog realizes that at this rate, it may take the master a full 0.3 of a second to open the door all the way. This is bad. He needs help. Adventure Dog alertly puts her nose in the crack and applies 600,000 pounds of force to the door. Hey, Ernest! And now Adventure Dog is through the door, looking left, looking right, her finely honed senses, absorbing every detail of the environment, every nuance, and subtly looking for, holy smoke! There it is! The yard! Right in the exact same place it was yesterday! This is turning out to be an unbelievable adventure. Art! Adventure Dog is vaguely troubled. Some primitive version of a thought is rattling around inside her tiny cranium, like a BB in a tuna fish can, for she senses that there's some reason why the master has let her outside. But what on earth can it be? Before Adventure Dog can think of an answer, she detects, is this possible? Yes, it's a smell! Yikes! Full red alert! Come on, Ernest. No question about it. The evidence is clear. This is a smell, all right. And what's more, it's the smell of dog wee-wee right here in the yard. Ernest. Adventure Dog is gaining the germ of an idea. At first, it seems far-fetched, but the more she thinks about it, the more she thinks, hey, why not? The idea is, get ready, Adventure Dog is going to make dog wee-wee right now, outside. It's crazy, but it just might work. Good girl, Ernest. What was that? It was a sound. Definitely. A sound coming from over there. Yes, no question about it. This is unbelievable. It's the master out here in the yard. Yay! Down, dang it. Adventure Dog, Adventure dog! Arr! Down! Bear in mind, this is only one episode. There are many other possibilities. Adventure dog is fed. Adventure dog goes for a ride in the car and sees another dog and barks real loud for the next 116 miles, etc. And it would be the kind of family-oriented TV show you could show your kids, thanks to an earlier episode entitled Adventure Dog Has an Operation.
I've been around horses my entire life and have a deep affection for them. Therefore, I would never support any activity I felt brought harm to my equine or any other. One aspect of horses that was once one of the most popular sports in America is horse racing. Now, what is horse racing? Horse racing is the sport of racing equines over a set distance. It was made popular in Britain by the nobility, which is why it's often referred to as the sport of kings. The object of horse racing is to be the first equine jockey pair over the finish line. While this is pretty straightforward in short sprint races, longer races that are often ran over the duration of several miles involve a great deal of tactical riding. In such races, a jockey must know his equine's strengths and weaknesses to know when the equine needs to be held back or pushed into a higher rate of speed. There are many important pieces of equipment for horse racing. However, the horse is quite obviously the most important one. Thoroughbreds are the quintessential choice. However, Arabians and quarter horses are also used as racing prospects on occasion. Some other mandatory equipment would be the saddle and its pad, the bridle, and the jockey is required to have a helmet. Some optional equipment would be blinds, a whip, and leg protection for the equine. There are many rules and regulations put in place today to regulate the welfare of both the equine and its rider. Despite this, horse racing still has many critics. Today, I will share 3 claims of abuse in the racing industry and disprove them. Our first claim of abuse was reported by CNN News on June 8th. On May 18th, 2018, a colt named Justify galloped over the finish line of the Belmont Stakes to claim the prestigious award of the Triple Crown. However, just a few weeks prior to this first Triple Crown race, Justify tested positive for drugs, and yet he was still permitted to run. Critics said this showed the lack of enforcement in the racing industry. Our second claim of abuse regards a 3-year-old gelding named Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige was running in the famed Santa Anita Park when he was halted at the 3/8 pole of the race. He was then loaded into an equine ambulance. It was soon discovered he had an open fracture in his left front ankle and unfortunately had to be euthanized. Critics said this was proof racehorses are started too young. Our third and final claim of abuse involves American Pharoah and his Triple Crown win. It was counted by many that the American Pharoah's jockey used the crop on him 32 times in the home stretch alone of the final Triple Crown race. Critics said if this amount of violence could be tolerated at such a prestigious race, then smaller, less notable races must be considerably cooler. All these claims, however, are false. Where an untrained eye may see abuse, a person more educated on the sport can see what truly happened. In the case of justifying his drugging, the drug found in the equine's bloodstream was scopolamine. Scopolamine is a drug used in humans to treat nausea and muscle spasms. The drug itself has very little positive effect on an equine, and can, in turn, have several negative effects. Therefore, it is highly unlikely it would be chosen to be used as a beneficial drug. Continuing on, the dosage found in his bloodstream was so minuscule that had it in fact been a beneficial drug, it would have not affected his racing at all. Furthermore, the drug was also found in the bloodstream of several other horses at the barn, all of which were being fed the same all-natural horse feed. This horse feed contained a grain known as Jimson weed. When put through tests, Jimson weed tests the same as scopolamine. This is what gave Justify the positive testing for the drugs. Justify was not unfairly affected by his feed in any way, and he ran and won all 3 Triple Crown races fairly. Our next example was of Satchel Paige and his euthanization. The University of Sydney shared their study on the starting ages of thoroughbreds. Researchers found no detrimental effect to a racehorse's career if it began racing as a 2-year-old. Researchers also found that racehorses that began racing at a younger age were more likely to have longer careers than those that began racing at an older age. Natasha Hamilton, the supervising author of the university's faculty, said, This is the largest and most extensive study of its type, as we investigated into the careers of over 115,000 Australian thoroughbreds throughout a 10-year period. This study disproves any claims racehorses are started too young. Our third and final claim of abuse regarded American Pharoah and his jockey's use of a crop. Many people outside of the racing industry believe racing crops are the same type of crop used in other equine disciplines, such as jumping and dressage. This claim, however, is false. Racing crops are considerably more padded than your average crop, to the point where they are mostly foam and nearly pain-free. Furthermore, jockeys will ordinarily slap the air or their boot with the crop, both of which will create a loud popping sound to help encourage the horse forward, much like you would kiss to a dog to come, both of which can also easily be mistaken for whipping the horse to the untrained eye. Each racetrack also has its own separate rules on the number of times an equine can be whipped. There are also many laws prohibiting the use of the crop on the horse's head, flank, or really any part of its body other than its shoulder and hindquarters. Due to this, American Pharoah was not in pain when he ran home. He ran and won all 3 Triple Crown races, pain-free and happily. In conclusion, racehorses are high-dollar athletes and are treated as such. No logical owner would ever bring harm to their main source of income. While there are bad eggs in every equine sport, you can't judge an entire discipline based on the actions of a few. In the words of Lord Teddy Grimthorpe, the owner of Enable, the 2017 European Horse of the Year, Enable likes to be out. She likes to be running. She doesn't like being held back and kept in her stall.
Valentine's Day is a day of love. But what if you find yourself alone? Maybe your best friend can help.
Who Wants a Boyfriend by D.B. Braxton. I'm warning you, Angie.
Okay, I've been warned. Now drop it.
No, I won't drop it. If you miss this opportunity, you'll regret it for the rest of the year.
Okay, let me regret it. I'll be sorry, and then you can say, I told you so.
Go ahead, make fun of my warnings. But you wait, just you wait. Next Thursday will be the darkest day of your high school career.
Has to be pretty dim to beat this moment of darkness. You're giving me a headache.
Forget it then. If it gives you some sort of perverted pleasure to ruin your social life, don't expect any sympathy from me.
Did I request for any? I actually like the way this status quo is. You just can't handle the fact that I want to be dateless for Valentine's Day.
How can you say that, Angie?
Easy, I just don't care.
But it's the biggest day in the world for sweethearts.
Means absolutely nothing for me.
Next Thursday, you won't be singing that tune.
Why do you even care?
Because I'm your friend. I know what it's like to spend Valentine's Day without a sweetheart. 2 years ago, I had the same fate.
And you survived, didn't you?
Yes, but it was one of the most embarrassing days of my life.
Embarrassing. Why?
Because of the Valentines. Everyone gets them. The guys all get their favorite girl a big Valentine's. Most of them get candy or balloons or roses. For any red-blooded American girl, it's the most important holiday of the year.
I thought Christmas was the most important holiday.
Not for a girl, it's not. For a female, nothing is more vital than romance. Without it, life is void of meaning.
Funny how I'm so unattached, but yet completely happy.
You're not happy. You've told yourself that lie so many times you're starting to believe it. Can I get you to see what you're missing?
I think you've forgotten. I know what I'm missing. I've had plenty of boyfriends.
And you could so easily get a new one if you would just try.
Give me one good reason to make this so-called a tit.
I can name plenty of reasons. What about romance, flowers, 3 children, a little white house with a picket fence?
Gail, stop. I'm not ready to think about a house or children.
What about the romance part? Doesn't that sound cool?
Not particularly. It's always the same story over and over again. You start to like somebody. Then you even care about them. And then all your hopes and dreams, they just keep rising. And then poof, they come crashing down. All this time and energy that you wasted into a relationship, for what? For nothing. For nothing.
Get real, Angie. That's just the way relationships work. It's the law of the jungle. No one escapes those ugly facts. Those minor setbacks, you're just going to have to live with them.
Those minor setbacks are things that I'm not going to live with. I'd rather live with the reality of not having a boyfriend than false expectations.
How can you say that? Believing, hoping, dreaming of someone, anyone is simply wonderful. For instance, I have my eye on a really sweet guy. In my book, he is perfection.
Wait, I can't believe you're saying that. You have a boyfriend. What about poor Bill? Oh, I thought you really liked him.
I mean, I do, to a degree, but that's my point. Even as I date Bill, I dream of love on a higher scale. I chase finer prey, fair game. Now, doesn't that sound smart?
No, it sounds pretty dumb to me, because while you're out here chasing some fantasy, you waste away a good guy like Bill.
He does receive the honor of spending some charming romantic evenings with me.
To be dumped later with some half-baked excuse? That's sorry?
Jealous much?
Not of your life. I just want some self-respect.
The hell with self-respect. I want men.
Well, I went out of the dating rat race for a while.
Oh, wait, Angie, there's that guy I was talking about.
The one that doesn't even know you?
I'll remedy that situation too. Maybe if I win this round, I can get you a friend.
I'll pass.
Maybe he has a brother?
No thanks.
Please, Angie, can I get you to see what you're missing?
Hey, look at that guy over there.
Which one?
The one in the striped shirt.
Oh, Angie, wait, no, that's...
I think I'm gonna take your advice. I think I'm gonna talk to him.
Angie, remember that guy I was telling you
I'm nervous.
about?
Wish me luck. Hi, I'm Angie. I'm a little embarrassed, but I just thought I should come and talk to you. What? Oh, hi, Brian. Of course, I would love to walk around and talk with you. Gail, I'm gonna go walk and talk with Brian. Oh, Brian, this is Gail.
Hi.
Gail is the best. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have had the courage to come and talk to you. Well, we're off. I know you'll land that guy you were talking about.
Well, at least I have good old faithful Bill.
About that, you might want to look over there by the trees. It seems like good old faithful Bill had your same thought. He's kissing some blonde.
My Bill?
To me, it looks like it's her Bill. But it looks like you're going to be the one dateless for Valentine's Day.
Forget it. I'm swearing off men forever.
Let's face it, characters in horror movies are pretty stupid.
They make bad choices, leaving you to wonder if they have any brains at all. For example,
They never turn on the lights. Wandering around in the dark with a serial killer on the loose is a much better option, right?
they always go into the basement or wander alone in the woods.
They taunt and encourage the killer with amazing shows of false bravado.
You want some of this? Come and get me, you freak.
They utter the phrase.
Let's split up.
Of all the dumb things characters in horror movies do, this by far is the dumbest.
But if you do find yourself trapped in a horror movie, worry not.
Today we'll be presenting you with a comprehensive guide to keep you alive till the credits start rolling.
How to Survive a Horror Movie by Seth Grahame-Smith.
Those of us who become trapped in a horror movie have a choice.
We can either line up with the other cattle and march into the slaughterhouse. Moo.
Or we can fight back.
Yes, it's a long way to the final credits.
No, the odds aren't in our favor.
But that is no excuse to lie down and let the filmmakers have their way with us.
But you have to be smart.
Horror movie characters aren't killed by machete-wielding monsters or reincarnated psychopaths.
They're killed by ignorance. Ignorance of the mortal danger that they're in.
Ignorance of the fact that they're in a horror movie.
So, how do you know if you've been sucked into the Terrorverse?
Sometimes the signs are unmistakable. For instance, if you're a teenage babysitter,
Caring for a mute toddler in a remote cabin during a blizzard.
while an escaped killer roams the woods, you're probably in a horror movie.
Take a look around. The environment should offer some clues.
If you're on a crowded city street in broad daylight, you're probably safe.
For now.
But if you're anywhere remote,
The woods, an old house, an abandoned mental institution during the middle of a blackout.
then yes, your chances of being in a horror movie are much higher.
Do you hear strange sounds?
Chi, chi, chi.
Out of nowhere? Are you speaking Japanese?
Anime, death note, haiku.
According to the laws of early 21st century cinema, anyone speaking Japanese is in a horror movie.
If the answer to any of these questions is affirmative,
then we have to consider the possibility that you become trapped in a horror movie.
as much as you may feel like crying or making skid marks in your tidy whities.
You have to pull yourself together, and fast, because if you don't, the boogeyman is really going to give you something to cry about. Your situation requires immediate action, and the CRAVE method, cover, recon, arsenal, vehicle, escape, was developed for just such an emergency.
kind of a stop, drop, and roll for horror movie victims.
A way to stay alive long enough to get out of immediate danger.
C, cover. What you need right now is a temporary headquarters, a place to wipe the sweat from your brow, take a pull off the old asthma inhaler, and formulate your plan.
Some of the best places to do this, good old everyday houses.
Though not the ideal fortress, the average 2-story house is almost always the closest option. Water towers. If your movie takes place in a small Midwestern town, this might very well be the tallest structure around.
If you can get to the top, you'll have a highly defensible. There's only that one long ladder to worry about. Perch with a 360-degree bird's eye view.
R, recon. Now that you've had a chance to catch your breath, it's time to get an idea of where the enemy is and what they're up to.
If you don't have the height of a water tower working for you, climb to the tallest tower in your hideout and take a look.
If you see nothing, they're probably right behind you. No, wait, don't turn around. Nice and cool. That's it. Now on the count of 3, cover your face with your arms and jump early through the window. Either you jump or you die. Ready? 1, 2, just kidding. You're totally screwed. A, arsenal.
You see a path to freedom, you're gonna need some sort of weapon. If you're barricaded in a house, get your hands on a baseball bat, a kitchen knife, or anything kids aren't allowed to play with indoors.
If you're holed up in a church, grab a heavy-duty candlestick.
And if you're up on that water tower, get your hands on the nearest, there really isn't too much to work with on a water tower. You really should have thought about that before you climbed up there.
V, vehicle. You summon some courage, grab a weapon, and hopefully spot it at a nearby unoccupied vehicle.
In a burst of adrenaline-fueled speed, your only goal is to get to the nearest car truck, get inside, and blow town as fast as inhumanly possible.
Oh, don't bother smashing the windows. They left the car unlocked.
Lock the doors and pull down the driver's side sun visor. The keys will simply drop into your lap. When you try to start the car, it'll turn over and over again, but don't worry. It'll kick in just as soon as the attacker reaches the car and pounds on the windows.
E, escape. This is the easy part. Put the car in D.
Point the compass to N.
And get the F out of there. We've now come to that portion of our guide entitled The 7 Deadly Horror Movie Sins.
First deadly sin, doubt. There are 2 types of horror movie characters, those who believe your story and those who don't.
It was just a dream, honey.
No, it wasn't. Your son or daughter's having reoccurring dreams about getting brutally murdered night after night, and you're brushing it aside as what? Indigestion?
Those are just ghost stories our parents used to tell us.
Yes, and they happen to be true.
If all the moms and dads have spent the last 17 years telling you not to go into the abandoned mannequin factory, here's an idea. Don't go into the abandoned mannequin factory.
Second deadly sin, machismo.
You'll recognize the jock who thinks his football skills are enough to defeat the reincarnated serial killer.
Remember, if you're a male in horror movies, testosterone may as well be cyanide.
You want some of this?
You know the guy, the one that just can't take it anymore.
What's your plan, huh? Sit and let that thing pick us off one by one? No way, man. Not me.
He runs out into the open yelling something like,
"Come on, show your face."
and, well, you know how that ends.
Third deadly sin, independence.
Have you ever seen that documentary about wildebeest? The one where it's nothing but slow motion footage of them getting torn apart by lions and crocodiles? Great, isn't it?
Funny how the predators always seem to go for the animals on the outer edges of the herd. The ones who are either too slow or too stupid to draw strength from their numbers. This is not a coincidence.
Fourth deadly sin, ugliness.
Nobody said horror movies were fair.
Fifth deadly sin, curiosity.
One of the basic horror movie equations, investigation equals mutilation.
Is that you, Patches?
If Patches is the nickname for the man hiding in your closet with razor blades on his fingertips, then yes, it is.
Do you think it's dead?
No. Go ahead and poke it with a stick. We want to watch it grab your arm and bite half your face off.
Sixth deadly sin, irresponsibility.
In a horror movie, if you are assigned a task and fail to carry it out, either you or someone close to you is going to die.
What's a little nap gonna hurt?
A lot.
Trust me, the kids are sound asleep.
No, the kids are dead.
Why do I always get the crappy jobs?
Because you're an idiot, and you're about to prove that fact by failing miserably at the simple task you were assigned.
Seventh deadly sin, vehicular sex.
Do it and die. So, when is it safe? When you see the credits rolling in front of our eyes, hear applause, when the killer suddenly takes off his mask, shakes our hand and says, "Nice working with you"?
No, it's never safe. Once you're in the Terrorverse, you're in for good, even after the movie that brought you there is wrapped.
You succeeded in vanquishing the enemy? Great. Chances are you made it to the final credits and you'll lead a long and peaceful life. Especially if your movie bombs at the box office.
But there will always be that chance, however slight, that you'll be called back for sequels.
Ask Jamie Lee Curtis.
Screenwriters will keep dreaming up new villains and killing methods.
Directors will get sleeker and bloodier.
And your enemy will keep his fangs and machetes razor sharp.
You'd better keep your skills the same way.
Did you know the average American spends $5,600 a month, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics 2016 Consumer Expenditure Survey? As consumers, we spend our money on food, housing, apparel, transportation, and entertainment, to name a few common categories. But what if our consumer spending can make a difference and bring about positive change in our world? Well, I'm here to say that it can and to encourage you to become an ethical or conscious consumer. According to EchoWatch.com, the simplest definition of a conscious consumer is someone who buys from brands that align with their personal values whenever possible or practical. Ethical consumers believe that they can make a change by voting for their values with their dollars. For example, by avoiding products with palm oil in them, you are casting a vote to save orangutans in the Indonesian rainforest in which they live. To help you further understand the importance of this movement, I will further define what an ethical consumer is, explain why we should all be ethical consumers, tell how to be an ethical consumer, and show the impact ethical consumers have already had in our world today. First off, I would like to further define what an ethical consumer is. Ethical consumers look for environmentally friendly products, cruelty-free ones, fair trade, organic, or items made in the United States. What an ethical consumer buys is just as important as what they don't buy. Ethical consumers steer away from brands that harm the environment, test their products on animals, pollute the environment, fail to treat their employees fairly, or engage others in unsavory practices. According to Dr. Ronaldo A. Bautista Jr., Associate Professor at the De La Salle University, the ethical consumer ideal implies that individual consumers have a significant role in their daily purchasing decisions and promoting ethical corporate practices. Correspondingly, ethical trade refers to international trade that aims at preventing the injustices of global trade, such as child and low-paid labor, infringement of human rights, pollution of the environment, and inequalities of justice caused by globalization. There are many reasons why one would like to be an ethical consumer. The first is to help the environment. If you are looking at becoming an environmentally sustainable ethical consumer, you should look at switching to a greener energy provider and buying organic products. Ditching fossil fuels and getting a greener car is also a great way to be an ethical consumer. But there are many other ways to be an ethical consumer. Some ethical consumers hope that their consumer spending helps our society. Before shopping at a store, consider how seriously they take their commitment to your local community, as well as considering how they treat their employees. Do they treat them fairly? Do they pay them enough or overwork them? Do they actually care about anything except for how much money they can make off of any certain product? You can help stop these problems by shopping at stores with the Fair Trade Accreditation or Fair Tax mark. These independent accreditations go out of the way to point out stores that are doing the right thing and taking into consideration human rights and workers' rights. You may think that one person cannot change the world, but think again. One vote can mean the difference in a worldly decision. It has many times before, so why not now? Another reason to be an ethical consumer is animal welfare. One main thing that comes to mind is cosmetics. Many cosmetics brands, especially overseas ones, test their products on animals before selling them. By refusing to buy from these brands, you are ensuring that no animal was harmed in the production of your cosmetic products. The final reason to be an ethical consumer is how it affects you, body and soul. Being an ethical consumer is good for your health and well-being. When ethically shopping, you feel good about yourself because you know you are making a small difference in our world. One person can mean the difference in how a company views the world and its employees. If any of these ideas have appealed to you, I will now share with you how to become an ethical consumer. First, start with a point of personal reflection. Develop and redevelop your values. You need to understand your actions and what their possible outcomes could be. You also need to become as well informed as possible on a wide range of issues. There are also some habits you will want to get in when becoming an ethical consumer. First, start with a point. First, read the fine print. Some companies, like Bama Socks, say that they will donate 1 pair of socks for every pair purchased. This is a great thing, and according to their website, they have donated over 30 billion items. But some companies will make false claims just to get your business, so proceed with caution. The next habit is to shop at stores with a fair trade accreditation. This means that workers were paid fair compensation. Third, shop small business. If you enjoy having independent businesses in your community, support them. Also, be a farmer's market regular. Not only is the food fresh, but you are supporting and sustaining farming in your community. The final habit is to know your closet. Research your favorite brands and stores. Find out what they stand for and use this in future purchases. Hold your brands accountable. There are so many brands out there. So how are you supposed to know which ones to use? This is why Done Good exists. Done Good is a website that tells the truth about brands and stores and what they stand for. You can use this to find brands that stand for the same thing as you do. So you're probably wondering if being an ethical consumer actually has an impact on the world. And the answer is yes, it does. And being an ethical consumer actually does work. Between 2000 and 2012, child labor rates have dropped by 1/3 and are continuing to decrease. 24% more fashion companies are paying more livable wages and using more sustainable fabrics, according to the 2019 Ethical Fashion Report. The number of companies changing the way they make their products is increasing because of the number of consumers changing the way they buy things and what they buy. As you can see, being an ethical consumer is a great thing, and I highly encourage you to take it into deep consideration. One person can change the world for the better or the worse. As stated by Helen Keller, I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. Because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do something I can do. Don't let your chance to change the world be wasted.
Bubblegum, babies, flowers, little girls, cotton candy, and sweetness. Are you seeing pink yet? While these things bring to mind the color pink, this was not always the case. As it turns out, pink has meant many different things to many cultures throughout history and has resulted in varying opinions. Pink is the most divisive color in American society. Dr. Valerie Steele, editor of the recently published book Pink, The History of a Punk, Pretty Powerful Color, says, people either love pink or they hate it. Steele is the director and chief curator of the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. According to a recent study by University of Maryland sociologist Philip Cohen, pink is not a very popular color among adults, with 1% of men and 7% of women saying that pink is their favorite color, as opposed to 42% of men and 29% of women that said blue is their favorite. Now, despite this lack of current popularity, history might show different results. Today, I'd like to tell you about the history and evolution of pink and the symbolism of pink. To begin, pink has a rich history. It was first worn in the 1400s when traders brought back dyes from India and Sumatra. The color became fashionable in the mid-1700s when European nobles, both men and women, wore faint, powdery shades of the color as a symbol of luxury and class. Madame de Pompadour, the chief mistress of Louis XV, loved the color so much that a French porcelain manufacturer named a shade of pink after her called Rose Pompadour. In portraits by Francois Boucher, she's pictured wearing shell-pink gowns and negligées full of sassy ribbons. One of today's notions that pink is for baby girls was not true this time either. In fact, pink was seen as more appropriate for males because pink is a lighter version of red, which at that time was associated with the military. In the mid-1800s, the trends reversed. Men began to wear dark, sober colors, which meant that pink was left to the women. And it was around this time that pale pink was first thought to represent nudity. Therefore, much of the lingerie produced was a pale, flesh-toned pink. Just after this time, the Industrial Revolution swept the globe, and factories began manufacturing clothes using cheap dyes, which resulted in bright, unattractive shades of pink. The shades of pink produced by these factories were not the sophisticated colors that the upper class was used to, and they soon abandoned the color. Pink became very popular, however, with prostitutes, and it would be about 50 years before pink recovered from this bad reputation. In the 1860s, just after the Civil War, pink hit America, and it was in America that pink began to emerge as a baby girl color. But according to the Smithsonian.com, this shift was very gradual because the white dresses that children wore were practical because they could be bleached. According to Joe B. Paoletti, a University of Maryland historian, pastel colors were introduced in the mid-19th century, but they weren't gender-specific at first. In fact, according to a June 1918 Ladies' Home Journal, it states that the more generally accepted rule is pink for boys, being a more decided and stronger color, whereas blue is more delicate and dainty. It wasn't until the 1940s that manufacturers finally decided on pink for girls, so baby boomers were raised with girls in pink. This idea faded in the 60s and 70s due to the women's liberation movement, but came back in the 80s with the rise of prenatal testing. This allowed parents to decorate the nursery before the child was even born, and manufacturers capitalized on this by selling all sorts of products for the new baby girl. Today, with the popularity of gender reveal parties, pink always means a baby girl. Pink became popular with adults again in the 1960s with the help of Marilyn Monroe's figure-hugging pink dress in the 1953 film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, along with Elvis Presley's iconic pink Cadillac, a 1955 Cadillac Fleetwood. Jackie Kennedy also helped to bring pink back when she wore a pink dress to meet the French minister André Malraux in 1962. The 70s experienced a decline in fashion, again due to the women's liberation movement, but came back in the 80s with the rise of punk bands such as the Ramones, the Clash, and the Sex Pistols. Now, just as pink has a rich history, it also has a lot of different meanings. According to Mariana Serini at CNN.com, during World War II, the pink triangle on concentration camp prisoners' uniforms symbolized homosexuality. However, in the 1970s, that same pink triangle rose as a symbol of gay activism, and throughout that decade was the identifying symbol of the LGBTQ+ community. In the 1700s, pink symbolized luxury and class. Today, it represents love, along with the color red. Red, however, represents heat and passion, while pink represents romance and charm. Hot pink communicates playfulness, while light pink symbolizes tenderness. Red in large amounts can stir up aggression and action, while pink in large amounts can actually cause physical weakness. There are several phrases used that involve pink, such as in the pink, meaning healthy, tickled pink, meaning happy or content. A derogatory phrase is pink collar as opposed to blue collar or white collar, and the saying refers to a female office worker. In conclusion, pink is generally taken to mean dumb, silly, or immature, and people, no matter the gender, don't want that image. But there are many shades of pink, such as salmon, coral, rose, and fuchsia, just as there are many ways that pink has been represented over the ages. So I think maybe it's time that we rethink pink.
I hate goodbyes. I always have. There's something that's just so final about them. Goodbye. Today's goodbye will be the hardest goodbye I've ever had to say. Today's goodbye will be for my precious baby, who was stillborn. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. Excitement, joy, sorrow, sadness. These are feelings that a woman should never have to feel as she gets pregnant with her first baby. Hush, Little Baby by Chastity. As a young girl, I'd line up my dolls against my bed. I'd pretend to be their mother. I'd teach them how to drink tea and how to make the perfect cupcake. I'd rock them to sleep at night and sing them lullabies, and I'd tuck them into bed beside me. I'd always make sure they were within arm's length in case they needed me. I'd kiss their boo-boos and I'd take them to baby doll hospital. My entire life, I've been preparing to be a mother. If that mockingbird don't sing, Mama's gonna buy you a diamond ring. When Jake and I got married, I knew that we'd always wanted kids. I knew that Jake was going to be a good father. Once, while we were dating, we went to a family dinner, and he'd held my newborn daughter of a distant cousin. He carried on a tiny conversation with her and held him in her arms. And at that moment, there was no talking about cars or football. There was only tiny, sweet whispers promising that one day our dreams would come true. Jake was destined to be an incredible and devoted father. Someday he would cry at his daughter's wedding. It would break his heart to say goodbye, to let his little princess go. He would definitely cry at her wedding. You could just tell. When I became pregnant, imagine our delight. We found out that we were having a baby girl. Sonogram days were the best. Jake would drive me to my appointments and he'd put his ear up against my stomach and he'd listen to her little heartbeat. It was all so sweet that I just might cry. When our baby began to kick and move, it all somehow became so real. It was real. It wasn't pretend. I was going to be a mother. Baby Jessie. That's the name that we chose. As my belly grew bigger, so did our anxiousness to welcome baby Jessie home. The baby shower was amazing. Mom bought the crib. Mom spent way too much money, but Mom said that she didn't care. Mom said you only get your first granddaughter once. So many good memories, so many incredible gifts, and so much love and support. Before we knew it, it was time. Baby Jessie was ready to make her debut. Jake watched so many YouTube videos. How to change a diaper, how to install a car seat, how to know if she's sick or if she just had gas. Before we left the hospital, I took one last look at baby Jessie's room. The next time this door opens, I thought, we'd be welcoming baby Jessie home to her new home. So I put a precious white cotton gown in my travel bag. I put pink baby bunnies with the embroidered on the trim and a little matching hat. Jake said they'd accentuate her blue eyes. And I said, how do you know that she'd have blue eyes? And he said that he just knew. The waiting room was filled with family. Jake said the waiting room was so crowded it looked like birds jockeying for a place to perch on the power lines. Everyone wanted to say hello to baby Jessie. Everyone wanted to say hello. Right before I went into the delivery room, the nurse set up the sonogram monitor. This is my favorite part, Jake said. Only this time, instead of the tickling of Jessie's little heartbeat, we heard nothing. We heard silence. I panicked and the doctor rushed in. He felt my baby and he tried to find the baby's heartbeat, any heartbeat, Jessie's heartbeat. I may not have been a mother yet, but I had mother's intuition, and something wasn't right. Something was wrong with my baby. They always said it was the darkest before the dawn, and that's a lie. The worst was yet to come. The doctor said I still had to deliver baby Jessie. I had just lost my baby and I wanted to crawl inside of a hole. I wanted to hide from the world. I wanted to be a mother and I had failed. What did I do? Did I do something wrong? What would I say to our family and friends? This wasn't the way it was supposed to happen. We came here to have a baby. Seeing her face, it was overwhelming. When they placed her inside my arms, I didn't think that I'd ever be able to let go. As a parent, you always struggle with goodbyes. You think that there'll be one more time to drink tea, to make the perfect cupcake, to fix their boo-boos and to rock them to sleep. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. Goodbye, baby Jessie. Goodbye.
The glass slipper, the pumpkin stagecoach, the wicked stepmother. I'm sure you realize by now that I'm referencing the ever-popular Cinderella. This story has been retold so many times, and today I present my version, using the prose Cinderella by Hans Christian Andersen, Cinderella by the Brothers Grimm, Seriously, Cinderella is so annoying as told by her wicked stepmother by Trisha Shaskin, and the poetry Feeling Like Cinderella by Kendra Sparks and Cinderella by Roald Dahl. I present The Glass Slipper. My life is certainly not a fairy tale, but lately I've been feeling like Cinderella. Our lives are totally different, but I can't help it. Okay, so we're totally different. Cinderella's mom died. The wife of a rich man fell sick, and when she felt her end drew nigh, she called her only daughter to her bedside and said, "Always be a good girl, and I will look down from heaven and watch over you." Soon afterwards, she shut her eyes and died and was buried in the garden. And the little girl went every day to her grave and wept and was always good and kind to all about her. My mom's alive, but I cried when she told us she wanted to live an alternative lifestyle. Mom stayed with me and Dad for a while, but then she left us to go live with Lisa, a Zen-like lady who owns her own flower shop. Since then, it's just been Dad and me. Cinderella's father got remarried. Mine joined Match.com. You must have heard of me, the wicked stepmother. Not true. It's just another one of Cinderella's wild stories. Not as wild as the one about the pumpkin, or the fairy godmother. All I ever wanted was a husband. Before I married Cindy's father, my darlings and I had only met Cindy a handful of times. The girl seemed normal then. After I married Cindy's father, my darlings and I moved in. When I had just one foot on the front step, my dear husband kissed me goodbye and said, "I'm off on business." "He leaves often," Cindy said. "But the animals stay put. They talk, they joke, they sing, they even help out, especially the bluebirds." "No, I don't mind a story, but I like facts, not fiction." And soon the girl was talking all kinds of hokey-pokey. Clearly, Cindy and I both have issues. Is it any wonder I feel a certain bond to this blonde fairy tale princess? Okay, Cinderella went to a ball, I went to a rave. Okay, I gave in to my curiosity. What can I say? Mosh pits are fun. One day, a letter arrived. It was an invitation to the king's ball. The prince would surely fall in love with one of my darlings. Then they would marry, live in a beautiful castle, and one day be king and queen of all the land. At last, the happy day came. They went to court, and Cinderella followed with her eyes as long as she could, and when she lost sight of them, she fell a-crying. Her godmother, who saw her in all her tears, asked her what was the matter. I wish I could. She was not able to speak the rest, being interrupted by her tears and sobbing. This godmother of hers, who was a fairy, said to her, "Thou wish thou couldst go to the ball, is it not so?" "Yes," cried Cinderella with a great sigh. "Well," said her fairy godmother, "be a good girl, and I will contrive that thou shalt go." Then she took her into her chamber and said to her, "Run into the garden and bring me a pumpkin." Cinderella went immediately to gather the finest she could and brought it to her godmother, not being able to imagine how this pumpkin could help her go to the ball. Her godmother scooped out all the insides, having left nothing but the rind, which done, she struck it with her wand, and the pumpkin instantly turned out into a fine coach, gilded all over in gold. Another reason we're totally opposite. Cinderella got to sit in the back of a pumpkin-turned coach, wearing a beautiful gown, a pair of glass slippers given to her by a fairy godmother, a few mice, and half a dozen singing birds. In case you haven't heard, all I had to work with was a dull pair of scissors, which I used to cut holes in a thrift store t-shirt and jeans. It didn't amount to a hill of beans, because knowing I was going to a rave made me feel like Cinderella. If you recall, at the ball, once the clock struck 12, Cinderella left the dance, and in the process, lost a glass slipper at the steps of the palace. Alas, the prince, knowing he had found his one true love, went way above the call of duty to search the kingdom for the girl whose heart had won his. Geez, if it works in a fairy tale, then maybe. Then both sisters were overjoyed to hear this, for they had beautiful feet, and had no doubt that they could wear the golden slipper. The eldest went first into the room where the slipper was, and wanted to try it on, and her mother stood by. But a big toe could not go into it, and the shoe was altogether much too small for her. Then the mother said, "Never mind, cut it off. When you are queen, you will not care about feet. You will not want to go about on foot." So the silly girl cut off her big toe and squeezed the shoe on and went to the king's son. Then he took her for his bride and rode away with her. Then the prince looked down at her foot and saw by the blood streaming from it what a trick she had played on him, so he brought the false bride back. The prince went white from ear to ear. He muttered, "Let me out of here." "Oh, no, you don't. You made a vow. There's no way you can go back now." "Off with her head," the prince roared back. They chopped it off with one big whack. This pleased the prince. He smiled and said, "She's prettier without her head." Then up came sister number 2, who yelled, "Now I shall try the shoe." "Try this instead," the prince yelled back. He swung his trusty sword and smack! Her head went crashing to the ground. It bounced a bit and rolled around. In the kitchen, peeling spuds, Cinderella heard the thuds of bouncing heads upon the floor and poked her own head around the door. "What's all that racket?" Cindy cried. "Mind your own biz," the prince replied. Poor Cindy's heart was torn to shreds. "My prince," she thought, "he chops off heads. How could I marry anyone who does that sort of thing for fun?" The prince cried, "Who's this dirty slut? Off with her nut! Off with her nut!" Just then, all in a blaze of light, the magic fairy hove into sight. Her magic wand went swoosh and swish. "Cindy," she cried, "come make a wish. Wish anything and have no doubt that I will make it come about." Cindy answered, "Oh, kind fairy, this time I shall be more wary. No more princes, no more money. I've had my taste of honey. I'm wishing for a decent man. They're hard to find. Do you think you can?" Within a minute, Cinderella was married to a lovely fella, a simple jam maker by trade, who sold good homemade marmalade. Their house was filled with smiles and laughter, and they were happy ever after.
Thank you. I get a little funny about my work. I don't know, flustered or something. Have you been a couple of blocks down the street? There's some really, really amazing painters here. Oh, my work? It's nothing special. You see, I just paint my life. Have you ever heard the saying, write what you know? Well, I'm a terrible writer, so I just paint what I know. There's really nothing special about it. Often artists paint their most emotional and their deepest meanings in their paintings. This artist paints a painful memory, Painting Fires by Cole Sutherland. This painting, that's of my son and his Christmas tree that year. You see, I was a single mother, so I had to learn how to use a saw, and I was never very good at it, so I'd look down at my son and I'd say, I guess that's what dads are for. And he'd look up at me and he'd laugh. He was a funny little kid. He always named the Christmas trees, and he held a little service for them after their passing on New Year's. And he always asked for the funniest gifts, a blue dog collar, a book of maps, and a tape recorder. I mean, what kid asked for a tape recorder on Christmas? I don't remember what he got me that year, or what the Christmas tree's name was. Oh, yes, this painting. That's of my son and his spelling bee. I was so proud of him. We'd take hour-long drives, and he'd be spelling out words that seemed to be 30 letters long. And he was at his spelling bee, and there I was in the bleachers, fingers crossed, holding my breath, and he spelt the word wrong. And that was fine, because I was so proud of him. And this one, that's one of my favorites. That's of him and his dog, Buddy. It happened just like a movie. One day he was walking home from school, and Buddy just followed him. Buddy never left his side. Buddy never went anywhere. I guess he does look a little sad in that painting. He shouldn't, though, all warm by the fireplace with his master. I guess we'd been living with somebody. And we're not living with him anymore, but, well, we were. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not of a sunset. That's of a forest fire. They always say that the trees come back stronger and taller after a forest fire. Yes, that is my house in the painting, but I'm so sorry, I'm rambling, I know. I'm just trying to explain about the painting of the forest fire in my house. You see, I didn't want to be stuck anymore. So one day, I looked at my son and I said, hey, buddy, I'm going to go to the store. I'll be right back, okay? Pack up your stuff. He looked up at me and he said, okay, Mom, I love you. And I went to the store. And things took a little longer than expected. The line was really long, and then my card got declined, and then I couldn't find my keys anywhere, but I got to my car, and I drove down the street, and I noticed something. There were cars lined up on both sides of the street, and I knew in my heart that there was something wrong. So I ran down the street, and that's when I saw it. I saw the orange and the yellow flames coming out of my little blue and white house, turning it black, eating it. And then I didn't see something. I didn't see my son. And the only thing that I could do was look at the firefighters and beg and scream and cry to bring my little boy outside. And the only thing they let me do was kneel on the ground and beg God to bring him outside. They found him. He was in his room by the window. The windows were too hot to touch, and Buddy was by his side. Buddy never left his side. Buddy never went anywhere. You see, I guess what they say was, well, John, he had lit a cigarette and he fell asleep. He got to take the cold winter with him, but he didn't even think to bring my little boy outside. I guess that's why I get so defensive about my paintings. Why I can never seem to sell them. I paint my son. I paint him how he was and how he'll never get to be. I painted him on his graduation day, and there he was, cap and gown. And I was in the stands cheering him on. I painted him on his wedding day, and there he was, and God, did he look so handsome. I paint my son. I'm so sorry. I don't think that he'll be here tonight. But I listen to the tape recorder sometimes. I got to go to the house and I found it. I listen to it when he's not around. I listen to it all the time, actually. Sometimes I just hit play. Hey, Mom, It's your little monster. Listen, I know this probably sounds pretty dumb, but I figured you could keep this when I go off to college. And listen, I know that you said you couldn't sing to me anymore, but you can call me up on the phone whenever you like. And listen, I know that you're stressed out, Mom, but things really aren't that bad. John can get angry sometimes, but it's okay. Listen, in case you're wondering, that book of maps, it's because I've been planning out places that we can go all over the country. We can go if we want to, Mom. Mom, you're a better mom and dad put together. I love you, Mom.
Being irresistible can have its drawbacks, or so says the narrator of this piece. This is The Sensuous Angler by Patrick F. McManus.
Women find me extraordinarily attractive. Irresistible would not be too strong of a word. I sometimes have to laugh to myself at the great show they put on to act like I'm non-existent. For example, the other day on the Uptown bus, I was sitting next to a beautiful woman. Now I could tell that she was flustered the way she rummaged through her purse, whipped out her compact, and began fixing her face. It was especially hilarious when she cleaned a bit of excess eyeshadow with the tip of my tie. There really are no lengths the women won't go in their pretenses of ignoring me. However, my irresistible appeal to women and my love of fishing took a turn for the worse one day. Her name was Jennifer. You see, Jennifer and I worked in the same advertising agency. My job at the agency was to invent lies about a client's product, but so flustered was I one day by Jennifer that I accidentally let a truth slip into my report. The boss nearly fired me. Now, obviously, I was shaken up by this, so I got out my portable fly-tying outfit and began to tie a few royal henchmen to soothe my nerves. But then I felt a pair of eyes on me. They were Jennifer's eyes. She came over to my desk and talked to me.
Hi, my name's Jennifer, and you must be new here.
Well, actually, Jennifer, I've been here a little while.
Oh, really? How long?
4 years, Jennifer.
Gee, it is strange that I've never noticed you before. Our desks are only 20 feet apart.
Oh, but I have noticed you, Jennifer.
Oh, really? Anything in particular?
Is there ever? There's the way that you read Field and Stream so avidly while all the other women are gawking at glamour. And then there's the way I saw you fixing that little casting reel last year when you were supposed to be doing the annual report.
Oh dear, I guess you did catch me. Yes, I was just cleaning my Proton 90 double-widget Pro Glide Powercaster.
And you have got about the prettiest little Powercaster I've ever seen. Then Jennifer bent over to whisper in my ear, and I could smell the faint fragrance of off.
Notice anything else?
You mean the way you retied those split bamboo rods last February during your coffee breaks? Of course I noticed. It drove me wild.
Say, you're a very attractive... You're not that bad looking... I have a thing for big ears. I really do.
The poor girl was practically tongue-tied.
But you know, the thing that attracted me to you the most was that portable fly-tying outfit. Say, I've got an idea. Why don't you come to my place tonight and we can, well, you know.
Oh, I know, Jennifer. When I got to Jennifer's place that night, she poured us each a glass of wine, and then we got down to business. I was amazed at what that woman knew, I must tell you. She taught me more in 15 minutes about curing fresh steelhead eggs for bait than all the grizzled old anglers I've ever met. Nobody must ever find out about us, I told Jennifer, holding hands at the door of her apartment.
Oh, I know, but next time...
What, Jennifer? Tell me!
Next time, I'll teach you how to fillet perch.
But, Jennifer, I already know how to fillet perch.
Not the way I do it.
When can we do it? When can we fillet perch, Jennifer?
How about next Tuesday? Call me around 8, but if a man's voice answers, hang up.
A man's voice, Jennifer?
Yes, My husband, he's very big with a short temper, and he hates all things fishing and fish. It'd be a real shame if he caught us, filleting together.
I shuddered at the image conjured up by Jennifer's warning, but when next Tuesday rolled around, I still called her up. Is the coast clear, Jennifer?
Yes, Hammer left town for a business trip and won't be back until tomorrow.
I'll be right over. Now, when I got to Jennifer's, I was disappointed to find her dressed in some flimsy, low-cut negligee.
Oh, you're early. Why don't you go pour yourself a drink while I slip into something a little more comfortable?
Presently, Jennifer returned in baggy, patched fishing pants and a plaid wool shirt. Now that's more like it. Overcome by the moment, we rushed into the kitchen and began to fillet madly. I was amazed by Jennifer, the way she whacked off the heads, sliced away the skin, and peeled off the fillets. Time ceased to exist, and all space seemed confined to Jennifer's laminated maple chopping block. And then the earth moved. Oh, did the earth move for you, Jennifer?
Yes, and do you know what made it move?
What?
Hammer, he always trips on that last step.
What are we going to do? Then Jennifer leapt over and flung all the evidence into the freezing compartment of the refrigerator. Then Hammer's voice came into the room like a booming freight.
Hey, Jen!
Right before Hammer appeared, Jennifer lunged over and planted a big, wet, utterly disgusting kiss right on my mustache. And then Hammer appeared.
Who dis?
Oh, he's, nobody. He's just one of my, night school professors. He heard that you'd be out of town and thought he'd just swing on by.
You expect me to believe a cock and bull story like that? Say, smells fishy in here. You been filleting behind my back, woman?
No, Hammer, please don't kill him.
Hammer, could you please repeat that part? I don't think he heard it. Just then, Hammer blinked, giving me the opportunity to leap out the window and sprint down the alleyway to safety. Now, when I finally paused to catch my breath, I decided then and there that never again would I fillet with another man's wife, especially one who lived above the ground floor. For starters, it is difficult to run to safety with your legs protruding from your armpits.
So what do you want to do today?
I don't know. Spit something out.
Kickball.
We did that yesterday.
And I guess I broke Johnny's leg, but he was standing in the baseline. He totally deserved it.
You did.
Video games.
After yesterday...
Listen, you have flimsy controllers. It's not my fault it broke when I threw it against the wall.
It is totally your fault.
No, it's not, but I digress. Let's play pretend.
Yeah, I can roll with that.
Okay, we'll pick our favorite jobs and be them. I know what I want to be. I want to be an astronaut, bro, just floating around there, zero gravity, moonwalking.
Yeah, that's cool and all, but totally unrealistic. Do you know what I want to be when I grow up?
No, what do you want to be?
Drum roll, please. Hand model. Don't laugh at me.
That's so lame.
What do you mean lame? Being an astronaut's lame.
Bro, an astronaut is the coolest. But you know what? I have an idea, okay? How about if you play my astronaut game, which is totally awesome, I'll play your super lame hand model game.
First of all, it's not lame. And I guess I'll agree to your terms.
All right, it's a deal.
All right.
Some children have awesome, incredible dreams of being an astronaut or a professional athlete.
Or maybe a hand model.
This is the Magic Treehouse.
By us.
Mission control. We are definitely on the moon. Very, very little gravity here. There are some cool rocks. We will check those out.
Oh, look at this shiny rock. Watch as I hand model it.
Bro, we're on the moon. You're gonna have a spacesuit on. You can't hand model.
But I want a hand model.
But we're on the moon. We're playing my game.
Fine, I guess I'll put the suit on.
Alright, mission control. The rocks, they were very cool. And now there are some, appears to be life forms rapidly approaching.
What?
Yes, I will engage.
Engage?
Hello, sirs. That's a lot of arms and very big, sharp teeth.
Why is he licking his lips?
Mission Control, they say that they are here to eat our hands. But I think I have a fix. I will be home.
You?
Take him. Look at these hands. They are so smooth, and just because he's small, he has got some very chubby fingers.
They're not that fat.
These things could feed a family of 4 for a week.
I don't even taste good.
Oh, you are? Bye, man. I will tell your story, though.
I don't like this game.
But it's so cool. We're fighting aliens.
But I like my hands.
Fine. We'll play your stupid hand model game. What do I have to do?
Well, first of all, it's not stupid.
It's very stupid.
No, it's not.
Fine.
All right. What I want you to be is a normal, everyday person.
But I can be a normal, everyday person in the soul-crushing machine whenever I'm an actual adult. I'm 8.
I don't know. More practice. Just sit down.
Oh, my God.
Be an adult.
All right, I'll be my dad.
Okay. Knock, knock, knock.
Honey, get the door! I don't care that you're with our son. Oh, he stubbed his toe? I don't care. Get the door! I'm watching the game.
Knock, knock, knock.
Fine, I'll get it, but you'll pay. Hello, small man. Come on in. Would you like to watch the game?
And no, and first of all, I'm offended to the small man thing.
I don't really care. What do you have to sell to me?
And second of all, would you like to try my ever-loving, nature-loving, natural ingredient hand lotion?
What's in it?
Just aloe vera, cacti. You don't need to look at the ingredients.
Sulfuric acid.
Sulfuric acid?
Stainless steel clippings. What are you trying to do to me? Kill me?
What? I would never put that in a lotion.
But this game is so boring.
Being an astronaut's so unrealistic.
Dude, oh my gosh. You are so mean to me right now. But you know what? Fine. Because I am the better person, I'll make your game work. Fine. I'll play along with you.
All right.
Fine.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like to buy my nature-loving hand lotion?
Normally, I would kick door-to-door salesmen like you out immediately. But because this is just such a high-quality hand cream product, I mean, look at these things. He should be a model.
You're not taking this job or this game realistically.
But it's so stupid and lame. I'm just trying to add a little bit of spice.
Spice? You sound like a robot.
That's the point. Robots are awesome and would love a metallic hand cream.
Goodness, you're not playing this game right.
Because it's dumb.
You know what's dumb? Being an astronaut.
Listen, I don't have to stand here and take this. You calling my dreams unrealistic and stupid all day. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to climb down and tell your mom.
Please don't.
I'm going to tell your mom. Yep, that's right.
Don't tell my mom, please.
That's right.
Oh, I forgot that my brother likes to steal things. He must have took an hour.